to inspire, on fire 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 to inspire. We're excited that you tuned in for a time of reflection where Miss Alia Butler is a show. She's an author, inspirational speaker. She's on fire to inspire the world. She's a girl. On fire to inspire, on fire to inspire, on fire. That she's on fire. To inspire, on fire to inspire, on fire to inspire. Inspiration, motivation, encouragement, empowerment. You need inspiration, a little bit of motivation, encouragement. Thank you for tuning in to the show. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to the sponsors of the show. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome, welcome, welcome to On Fire to Inspire. I am Aaliyah, your purpose midwife. I tell y'all, I'm so excited tonight about tonight's topic and about our guests. Y'all know everything that we do it in bringing you that, pushing you into your purpose. That's one of the things I love to do, is push you into your purpose. But before we jump in, I want to thank our sponsors. I want to thank mombizboss.org, y'all. mombizboss.org. If you're an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur and you are a mom, you don't have to have children, but multiple operational manager is what mom stands for. So if you're a female that is interested in entrepreneurship or having, being an entrepreneur, join that group. It's a great, great group. And they have their monthly brunch. I want to say it's this coming Friday. So you want to check them out. We have uebdesigns.com, uebdesign.com. They actually, every time you see me with different accessories, that comes from them. And they have all kinds. If y'all go to uebdesigns.com, you'll see all kinds of things. The pendant, everything you see that I'm wearing is from uebdesign.com. And their tagline is, let us accessorize you, because accessorizing is our favorite part of the outfit. All right, so thank you so much to them. If you do not have this book in your arsenal, you want to add it. It's called Leadership Inside Trajectory. So if you are a leader, we have John Maxwell, certified John Maxwell speaker, Ricky D. Surratt is the author of that book. And he's also my big brother and apostle. That book can be purchased at iworkfaith.com. And again, that book is called Leadership Inside Trajectory, and it's iworkfaith.com. If you're on that health and wellness journey, y'all need to go follow Come Dance with Mina, MENA, Come Dance with Mina on Facebook. We do Zumba on Mondays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. Greetings, everybody. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Tell us where you're tuning in from, like what state are you tuning in from, as I'm thanking our sponsors. Hit that share button as well for me. And thank you to everybody in LinkedIn land, YouTube land, as well as Facebook land. Thank y'all so much for joining us tonight. Come Dance with Mina. And she's currently doing at the Cherokee County Public Library all month long. On Tuesday, she's doing a 10 a.m. session, and you get in free if you bring a canned good, because they're doing a canned food drive for the local shelters here. If you haven't gotten any of my books, you can find that at www.onfiretoinspire.com. That's not hard to forget, right? Because that's the title of the show, onfiretoinspire.com. You can get any of my books, the coloring book, affirmations journal, even my children's book, the bilingual children's book, Teaching Foundational English and Spanish, right? So y'all come and, support these awesome sponsors. Oh, and I cannot forget the Brown team, y'all. The Brown team has been supporting me since we were in a play together in 2019. You have the Brown team is a husband and wife team, and they are in the real estate. So they're award winning $1 million sales. And y'all, when I tell y'all, even though they're $1 million top salespeople, it's not about a dollar for them. You become family to them until they get you what you need or what you want. It's not about a sale. It's all about your needs being handled. So they can help you with investments, purchases, sales, whatever you need. Tell them you heard it right here. You could contact them at 404-843-2500. That is Cornelia and Bernard Brown, and they will be happy to help you. They are with Better Homes and Gardens Metro Brokers right there in Atlanta. So y'all, thank y'all again for all of my sponsors. Thank all of y'all as you're coming in. Again, hit that share button. So we got tuning in. We got Tennessee. We have North Carolina. We have Georgia. I can only see what y'all typing. So if y'all have not typed it in, I don't know where you're tuning in from, but I do see those three states represented. So thank y'all so much for joining us. So we're gonna jump on in. We have an awesome speaker tonight. Miss Miller has been, she has a wealth of information for us and a wealth of knowledge. I'm excited about having her on. So let's welcome her to the On Fire to Inspire platform. Welcome to On Fire to Inspire. How you doing, Miss Denise?
I'm good. I am good. It is so good to be with you tonight.
Hey,
Hi,
man,
everybody. Thank you
it's
for
great.
joining in.
Yes. So I want you to introduce yourself. I'm not that person that like to do a lot of reading out of script because I lose people. So tell them who is Miss Denise L. Miller.
Well, Denise L. Miller, I'll start out with I am 71 years young. I just turned 71 on New Year's Eve. So basically, I'm a party waiting to happen. Okay. I've been that way my whole life. I have had 45 years worth of experience, and I am now on my fourth career. My first career, I worked in the utility energy industry, and I was hired to be in leadership immediately back in 1974. And I left there after 22 years to start my own business. I crashed and burned. At that time, I was 45 years old. And as a result of becoming a, a a certified image consultant and doing some other things, I landed in teaching. And I taught at the college level for 18 years. I taught at Queens College, part of New York City's City University system. And I taught business communications, leadership, professional development, and there's one more thing, I can't remember it. But I left there at the beginning of the pandemic for health reasons. I couldn't stay. And I had always wanted to be a John Maxwell certified coach, teacher, trainer. And I got the opportunity to do that. And I am loving it. I am loving it. I'm a teacher by nature. I'm a trainer by nature. And I absolutely love what I do.
I love it. I love it. So you are a certified John Maxwell trainer?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
that's what I'm talking about. Y'all hear that? She said, I just turned 71 years old on January 1st, and I'm a party waiting to happen. Y'all, I love it. I love her spirit. I love her energy because she's not like, well, I'm 71. She was like, I'm 71, and I've done this, and I still got more to do. So I
Honey,
love it.
I had a knee replacement 3 years ago, and I just had the other one replaced about 15 weeks ago. So I'm really a party waiting to happen. I've got 2 new knees, and yes, look out.
2 days, all right now. So y'all, what's your excuse, right? Is she saying, hey, she got 2 new knees. What's your excuse? She's 71. She's ready. So the topic, setting whole life goals. What does that topic mean to you?
What it means to me is that so often we have a goal to do something. We have a goal to lose weight. There's a certain amount of money that we want to make. We want to get somewhere in our careers. And so we concentrate on that one small aspect of achieving that goal, forgetting that we're an integrated person. It's not just about our career or our money or our weight. It's about all of those things together. It's about us emotionally, it's about us spiritually, it's about all of those things. And when we set a goal in one area to do one thing without looking at all the other areas, what happens is we don't make it. And if we do make it, we still feel cheated because other things have gone by the wayside. So I am all about the whole life goals. And I've got stories to tell you about the times that I didn't do that. So why it's so dear to my heart that people do it.
Yes, and that's why I love to ask people what does the topic mean to them because generally it hits home for them. You know, those whole life goals, those topics hit home. It hits in a different place, right?
Right.
So let's talk about something that also hits you from a different place too. Let me ask you this question. How do you feel about life balance?
Life balance. I don't think it exists. Absolutely. I don't think it exists. We talk about life balance all the time, but John Maxwell, who is my mentor, he is now literally my mentor. Um, in person, but for many years he mentored me via books and via YouTube and all of those things that he produces. But we never get life is always out of balance. For any of you who may be young mothers, right now, you don't get enough sleep. You just absolutely don't. Okay, there is no balance when it comes to rest because you've got an infant that needs you almost 24/7. So you don't have life balance in certain areas. If you're in school and you're working a full-time job, that's another place where you don't get balance in terms of your rest, in terms of your leisure time. So life balance is not really to me reasonable. Life harmony is though,
Okay.
because the baby does grow up and you get to spend some more free time. There are times between semesters when you have breaks and you can get to handle your leisure or do other things. And those are just two very small examples of what I mean in terms of the difference between life balance and life harmony. I think it's a misnomer. So
I
that's
like
it.
your perspective on that because you hear so many people say, you got to find the balance, you got to find the balance. But if you're a mother with an infant, like you said, it's like, how can you balance that? And especially if you're a nursing mother, you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
you need balance.
That's it. If you're a nursing mother, the pump is your best friend. And if you're on a job that wants you to come back after X number of weeks, you're torn. And so it can be very, very, very difficult. And I think that we're striving for an ideal that really is impossible. And what we need to do is look at every situation that we're in and decide where does the possibility lie? What can I do that's reasonable? I have
Mm,
a story. I guess, oh gosh, it's supposed to be about 7 or 8 years ago now. I was an adjunct lecturer for many years, and I taught as many courses as the full-time lecturers did. And I was given the opportunity to run a program at the school. And of course, I wanted to prove, I don't know if any of you are in academia, but I wanted to prove to the powers that be that I could do this job. And so I was literally working 80 hours a week. Okay. Now, I'm single. I don't have any children, so it's not a big deal, except that one of my nieces came to live with me with her daughter. Her daughter at the time was 10. And I was always working. I figured, okay, she had her mother. I could still continue with my life. It never dawned on me that this child would be affected by the fact that I was always gone. And one day she and I happened to be alone together, and she said to me, "Well, you don't really like me anyway." Now, honey, I love this kid, okay? I take a bullet for this girl. Oh, she's 17 now. She's a freshman in college. But I I was like, "What would make you think I don't like it?" She said, "Well, you're always gone." She says, "You go away early, you come back late. I don't get to see you. You eat, you go to bed. You're not spending any time with me. You don't like me." And I was like, "No, baby." And, thank God I had the opportunity to recover that experience. And so what I did, because I had the kind of job that I had, I was able to take whenever she didn't have school, she just went to work with me. I just took her to work with me. I could set her up in an empty office. She had a little sewing machine and she's very gifted, in terms of her hands. So, and so am I. She and I are a lot alike where that is concerned. So I would set her up in an office with an iPad and the sewing machine, and she would just sit and sew all day, knowing that I was in the office right next door. We were in the same office suite, so she could just call out and I could hear her. We went to lunch, we walked around campus together, I introduced her to people. Thank goodness I was able to recover that. But just to think that I was so busy with my career trying to prove to people who didn't really care about me, that's the reality, about how good a job I could do, when this child that I loved and had the opportunity to have a hand in her development, I almost blew it. So,
And you know what? This it was a blessing that you all had that conversation and that you
yes.
were able to go ahead and make some adjustments right then and there.
Right.
Think of parents that are actually doing this just to. Some of them are doing it to keep food on the table, but then
Right.
you have some that are want to have a specific kind of life to, if it's just for some kind of status, no. If it's to make sure that you're taking care of the family, then you may have to do what you have to do for a time being, for the time being. Like you said, find that life harmony when time allots. But if it's about a status, baby, they grow up and you cannot press rewind to get that
And
time.
and that's it. And what I say to parents all the time, and I've said it to many of my friends, is why is it that you're killing yourself to have somebody else's name plastered on your kids' feet or the pockets of their jeans?
Wow.
You know, we're giving all those people our money, and I did not grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth. In fact, I grew up with a plastic spoon in my mouth. That's what I tell people, okay? But it's so interesting because when my mother was alive, she would say to me, "Oh, well, I remember that year that you didn't get any new school clothes and all the other kids in the block had school clothes." I don't remember. It didn't
Mm-hmm.
bother me, okay? But whenever I came home, my mother was there. My mother took us places and did things with us. My mother, oh my goodness, she was like, she made us every summer we had to do book reports. We used to, my brother and sister and I used to laugh about that. But she was very involved in our education and our lives. And that's what I remember. I remember the summer that she tortured me with times tables because I couldn't learn it in school. I remember reading the books. I remember the trips to the park. I'm here in Brooklyn. Well, I'm not in Brooklyn anymore, but in Brooklyn there's a big park called Prospect Park. It's like the Central Park of Brooklyn. And we would go there and we would go on picnics and we would go to Manhattan to look at the stores at Christmas time. That's what I remember. I don't remember not getting new school clothes. And
Right.
and I would say to you parents, don't try to keep up with the Joneses because the Joneses are probably up to their hips in debt and they're lying to you. So leave the Joneses out of it.
I love
So
them.
so
Many things of finding life harmony um, is trying to find that place of how you can find that make time, not find time, but make
make
time,
time.
make time to spend with your children and actually just have conversations. I remember growing up, y'all, think about it. How many of y'all, and I want y'all to come in the thing because Miss Denise and I can both see it. How many of y'all remember sitting at the table with your family and having conversations? How many of y'all remember that? Do y'all remember that? When we were growing up, we had that. My mom was a single parent, but even with that, you had the village raising your children. So I had an aunt that I called, and I had a sister, and I had a grandmother. And so those people helped raise me. But when I sat down at the dinner table with somebody, even though Mama was working and in school,
Right.
you know, see that in this day and time, and that's what our kids are missing. And so many children of being raised by these phones and these tablets and eh, take the time out to put that stuff away and be present in the present because you cannot press rewind on their childhood. You can't do it.
That's that's true. You cannot. And it's so interesting. My sister's gone on now, but I remember at her table, in fact, she and I had a big fight about it because we didn't communicate well. That was way before I got into John Maxwell. I communicate a lot better now. But my sister did not permit phones at the dinner table. Everybody had to leave their phone in the living room and they all sat down to dinner. And they were a big, we sit down to dinner together family. My
Mhm,
family was interesting. We were all running in different ways, and my sister was actually quite a bit younger than us. So usually the kids would eat together, and it was funny because my brother and I used to love to eat, read while we were eating, and we couldn't read unless everybody had a book. So my poor sister, who was 10 years younger than me, 6 years younger than my brother, she was like she wasn't even in kindergarten yet, and we'd be sitting there reading, and she'd have a book in front of her, and it would be upside down, but she thought she was reading, so it was okay. But the one meal that we had to show up for was Sunday morning breakfast.
mhm,
Sunday morning breakfast.
mhm,
And that is a wonderful memory. And sometimes your
mhm.
families are busy and they're going all over the place. You may not be able to do dinner every night, but you can do one meal a week, whether
Right.
it's Sunday morning breakfast or Sunday dinner. I
Mhm,
know for most of my life, until I was a teenager and started to work, we used to have Sunday dinner at
mhm,
I had two grandmothers. I had a sweet little Southern grandma who used to walk around with a crowbar in her bag. That's a whole nother thing. Yeah, yeah, because she was tiny. And some guy tried to mug her and people ran to get her sons. And honey, by the time they got around the corner, she had laid the man out. She those big old lady bags with the plaid bags with the drawstring on top. She used to
mhm,
carry a crowbar bar in her bag. So that was she was Sunday dinner, and Saturday dinner was my West Indian grandmother. My West Indian grandmother was from the Dutch side of St. Martin's. So we were at one grandmother or another
mhm,
every every Saturday and Sunday for the weekends. And then
mhm,
Sunday morning it was brunch, or not brunch, it was breakfast at our table. But you can build traditions that are not traditional, and
mhm,
I would challenge you to be a little creative about how you do that. I mean, if you've got a kid in sports, or maybe two different kids in two different sports. My sister had one in soccer, one in gymnastics. They were all doing different things, but they managed to carve out time with those kids. And then sometimes you also need to try to spend a little bit of time with those kids alone, even if it's an hour and you watch a TV program together. Um, I don't really like video games, but if I had a kid that played video games, I guess I'd have to learn just to spend some time with them. So, um, get them to talk. Most young people now don't really have conversations. They're not able to have conversations because, yeah, they're going to all I tell you, I had knee replacements. I would bet anything that in 30 years they're going to have thumb joint replacements for what we're doing to our thumbs. So
Yes,
that's right. My worthless 2 cents, you're totally right. The most important gift is time and attention. Table
yes,
talk,
yes,
absolutely.
yes,
Um, and the other thing is that sometimes as your children get older, I hope that you're raising them in faith. I happen to be a person of the Christian faith, so that's where I am. But children need to know that this is not all that there is.
yes,
That there is the divine creator, and that is basically what my life goals are centered on, that there is a divine creator who has made each of us very special to do something very special that only we can do to the most excellent point. Now, we may not do it and somebody else may have to do it, but it won't be done as well as it could be if we do it.
Exactly, because there is a purpose for our lives. You made me think about one of the things I say, Miss Denise, all the time. I said, as long as there's breath in your body, there's purpose to fulfill. And so there's something for us to do because we're still here. You know,
Right, right.
Co-pastor Terrell says that you have to make time, which is true.
Yes,
Anna says time and intention are the best gifts. That
yes.
is true. And you know what? I tell people all the time, I said, you can buy a $200 gift for a child, but I promise you, like, you know how those with kitchen sets and stuff? But I promise you, if you take it out the box and the box is still there, they'll climb in that box and play with that longer than they will that $200 kitchen set.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
So,
It's so true. They'll play with the box, or they'll open the cabinet if they're little tiny ones, and they'll bang on the Tupperware and the pots. Uh, you know, one of the things that concerns me is that we're so busy that we don't give our children the opportunity to be creative. And some of us will say, "Oh, I'm not creative." My great niece's mother said to me, she says, "Oh, well, you and she will get along fine." She says, "I'm not creative that way." And that way is the issue. We are all creative in some way. And the more that we create in whatever way that we're gifted in being creative, the more we will get creative in all other areas as well. So I would just say, give yourself time, make up games, make little things with your hands, even if they fall apart. It is so, so, so important to exercise your creativity, because you do have it. I believe that we were created by a creative being in his image, which means that we too were creative. When you go outside and you look around and you look at trees and grass and horses and raccoons and all the other dogs and cats, they were all God. This like all of this came up. The only thing God put his hands on to make was us. Everything
right.
else was a product of his imagination.
Speaking
Look at
it.
it, look at an elephant and look at a crab. Like they both came out of the same head. So if that's the case, then we're creative too.
Yes, absolutely. Um, Going into the place of that topic, setting the whole life goal. So, how can we assist? What are some tools that we can give to people? We're telling them now that they can take some time out and be intentional. That's my word. That's one of my words for this year, being intentional. Because if you're
Okay.
intentional about something, then you're going to make it happen. You're going to
Yes.
make time for those children. You're going to make that time to do the things that God has placed in your heart to do. So,
Okay.
here's some other tools that we can help them use to get into setting these whole life goals and not just
Okay.
be.
Right. Okay. I'd like everybody, if you don't have a piece of pen or a piece of paper and a pen, pull it out, because now it's time to write. I tell people I'm a teacher. I always show up with homework and lessons, and you got to take notes. You must take notes. And so write the word special, but write it going down. Write it. Don't write it horizontally. Write it vertically. Okay. And each of the letters in special stands for a part of your life. Okay. The S stands for the sacred and the spiritual. The P stands for the physical. The E stands for the emotional. The C stands for your career or your calling. It's great when they match up. Sometimes they don't, but when they do match up, it's wonderful. The I stands for intellectual. And the A stands, I call it accounts, which is the financial. And then the L stands for living with others or relationships. Those are the seven basic areas of our lives. And when you look at goals in any one of those areas. You need to figure out how you're achieving your goal in one area affects all the other areas. And that's how you have whole life goals. For instance, my goal has been to lose 50 pounds probably for the last 5 years. Um, I'm going to get there though. I'm going to get there. But when I choose to lose 50 pounds, there are a couple of things that happen. Number one, it takes time because some of that weight loss is going to be in terms of movement. So it's a
Mhm.
physical goal. But if I have to spend extra time moving, what does it take time away from? That's something I need to think about.
Mhm.
I'm going to have to change the way I eat. That could be an emotional experience because I never met a grain of sugar that I wasn't in love with. Okay. But sugar or chips, what, how is that goal going to affect what I'm eating and how I'm shopping, which is a financial issue? Because food is not cheap. It was never cheap and it's really not cheap now. And sometimes honestly, it's more expensive to eat well. But perhaps you need to have a hobby of gardening. I have a cousin who lives in the city, and girlfriend grew a watermelon in a flower pot. I took a picture. Yes, I have a picture of it somewhere. It was years ago. She grew a watermelon, a little teeny weeny watermelon, it's about as big as a grapefruit in a flower pot. So you can get creative and you can do those kinds of things. Emotionally, that goal to lose weight, it may affect you poorly if you don't diet correctly. You could really have some emotional issues behind not eating well because you're not getting the nutrients that you need. And then there's the intellectual part of you. As you're exercising, in fact, someone told me this just today. I was on the phone with her earlier and I was listening to a teaching that she gave while I was on my exercise bike. And actually, I had all these ideas. And when I said that to her, she said, when you're moving, it's a lot, it's the blood flow to the brain. You actually get ideas. People get a lot of ideas when they're exercising or when they're walking and all of those kinds of things. So, and relationships. Some of us, when we don't eat what we want, we get a little crabby and we can kind of mess up our relationships. So you have to be careful with that. But also, I can I can remember I haven't smoked now since I was 25 years old. That's when I stopped smoking. But at the time, I had someone who was very dear to me who was a pipe smoker, and he stopped smoking his pipe and he wouldn't let anyone smoke around me. Okay. So, in terms of the relationships, how are the people that you are relating to helping you or hindering you from achieving your goals? So, those are some of the kinds of things that you need to think about. So when I look at whole life goals, whatever goal you set, whether if you want to make more money or you want to go back to school, just understand that as you set that goal, you need to look at how achieving that goal is going to affect the other areas of your life. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to like, oh my goodness, it's going to affect something negatively. I can't do it. No, you may have to be a little bit creative about how you achieve it. And now, especially if you're going back to school, you've got online classes. There are lots of things that you can do that will still allow you to have time for your family or your significant other. So that's an important thing. In terms of money, perhaps you don't want to work so hard on your primary job. Perhaps you need a side gig, something that you can do perhaps with a family member, something that your kids can even work with on you so that you can make the extra money without having to spend another 8 hours a week at the office. So you have to really look at your whole life goals and think about it. There are some questions that you need to ask yourself when you set a goal. The first question you need to ask is, where am I right now? Where am I right now? And am I okay with it? Because sometimes we are forced into goals by what other people are doing. But remember that You can't anymore fit into what I'm doing than you can wear my shoes. And most of you, honey, your feet are not that big. My feet are like huge. I always tell people I'll never topple. Uh, and then where is it that I want to be at the end of the year or at the end of whatever period, the end of the year, the end of the month? And then clearly write out a vision in just a sentence or two for each area. I always say that you should set 7 goals together because that way you can see if they integrate. Some of your goals may be that I like where I am and I want to maintain that place as you're setting, as you're integrating seven different goals. And then lay out everything in steps. You can't jump, you can't jump from here to over the moon. You've got to jump to a high mountain first, and then to a higher mountain, and then to a star, and then maybe to the moon. So set out goals and then think about this. Are you really willing to make the shifts that need to be made to achieve your goal? Because sometimes we want something, and for the longest time, I knew I had doctors telling me I needed to lose weight. I think my doctor, whenever I walked into her office, she was on the verge of looking at me and yelling, "You're fat." Okay. Um, but thank goodness I'm tall, so I carry a lot of weight well. But I wasn't willing to give up chips. I love potato chips. Frito-Lay, those are my people. Uh, yes, Frito-Lay and Haagen-Dazs, I'm just telling you, we have to be related somewhere down the line. But I had to make up my mind that I wanted to be creative about how I was gonna let go of the chips. So I have to tell you what I did. I get pita bread. I found a place where I can get whole wheat pita bread at a reasonable price. And this is a little cooking tip. We're going to go a little off. And what I do is I open up the pack of pita bread, and there's usually about 5 or 6 of them. I put wax paper in between each of the pita breads, and I freeze them. And when I'm really like crazy for chips, I take out 1 or 2 of the round pitas. They're frozen solid, so I break them up into all kinds of shapes. I put them on a cookie sheet. I spray them with olive oil, sprinkle them with salt, shove them in the oven. So I get my little bit of salty. I get, and sometimes I put garlic on them, and I get my little chip crunch, but it's much healthier than fried potato chips. I spray them with olive oil and I'm good to go. So
That's
that's
smart. That's
that's one of the creative ways. Go ahead.
yeah. I said that's a smart tip. I like that. I really like that. Do you like kale?
It's interesting. Yes, I do, but not so much in um just cooked. I'd use it. I love it in smoothies because it doesn't have a distinctive taste.
Okay.
And but what I do is I actually saute kale and spinach together with a
Mhm.
chopped up onion and chopped up garlic.
Okay. I was gonna
And
tell you, if you ever want a chip, you can do a kale chip.
kale chip.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, I never thought about that, but yes.
Sea salt, because like you said, getting creative.
Mhm.
When working with on my wellness goals, because during the pandemic, I said in my mind, well, you know what? I can't work from home and just gain weight. I'm already not where I want to be. And so I set that in my mind and I taught my palate that you like avocado even though you don't think you do. So I had to do other things, right? And so you do what it takes, like you said, get creative. So those kale chips, you can put some sea salt, put a little olive oil, put them in the oven or your air fryer
Okay.
and you have like a kale chip. You have a chip,
Okay.
it's salty. Um,
Okay.
so you get creative. What are you willing to do? What are you willing to sacrifice? And I say this all the time. Are you willing to be uncomfortable temporarily for long-term happiness?
That's it. That's it.
Yes.
And that's the thing that you have to learn that John Maxwell says that anything that you achieve that's positive is uphill. All right. And so it means that you need to be inconvenienced. And one of the things that I found about myself, and I don't think that I'm that different from anyone else, is that we will be committed to other people. We want to keep our word, mostly because we don't want to look bad. That's the reality. Okay. But how committed are we to ourselves? A lot of times we let ourselves down. And that's one of the things that I had to really face myself about. I'll be committed. If I tell you I'm going to meet you at a certain time or I'm going to go with you a certain place, I will do that. But then when I feel like I need to walk a certain number of steps a day or I have an exercise bike. Now I realize it's a matter of my mobility. I have got to either walk those steps or do the equivalent on the exercise bike. Otherwise, I tell people after a certain age, if you stay still for too long, you freeze. Okay. You have to keep moving. And so actually, my goal for this year is to do somebody challenged me to do 3 million steps. I was like, honey, I've got shoes older than you are. No, I'm not doing 3 million steps, but I will do a million steps, and that's about 3,000 steps a day.
Okay.
So I do the equivalent on my bike, which is about 2.5 to 3 kilometers. Sometimes I do a combination of the bike and walking, and I'm getting in my 3,000 steps a day. So,
Yay.
yes, so that's it. So you need and when I look at that, it's going to help me emotionally. I don't know how many anybody if you work out, drop that in the chat. Say workout.
Look, I do.
Okay. If you notice when you work out about 5 to 10 minutes after you start, you all of a sudden feel so good. I do in-home walking. I lay out mats and because I'm in an apartment in New York, and there you go. Think about it. Do you feel wonderful after about the first 5 or 10 minutes after working out?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And so that's emotional. Also intellectual because it's greater blood flow to your brain. So you're doing good for your brain, even if you don't notice it. If you work out on a regular basis, what you will start to notice is all of a sudden your thinking gets more clear.
Mhm.
And the other thing you will notice is you're going to change what you're taking in because your body is going to demand more water, which your body really needs. And most of us do not drink enough water. So a lot of different kinds of things happen. So that's it. I want to ask you, who here has laid out goals for the year, or who here has made resolutions? I hope you haven't. Um, Actually, 2 days ago, it was there's a day that they actually call Quit Day. About yes, about several weeks into the new year, that people quit their resolutions, and then this February 1st, they say a lot of people drop their resolutions within the first 31 days of making them. So, uh, and my question is, think about this. What are you doing to make sure that your resolutions happen? And I would suggest that you not even call them resolutions.
Mm-mm.
You don't even have to call them goals. You can pick another word for them. You can call them aspirations. You can call them other things because resolutions has a very negative. When I think of resolutions, although yes, you're resolved to do something, it's also like you're being imprisoned by that thing.
Ooh, that's good.
Whereas if you have aspirations, you're flying. Even though you can't fly, but you're flying. You are, I want to do that. And you're like, okay, I want to go there. And that's what you want to do. And it's uplifting as opposed to resolutions. Oh, I can't eat this. I can't eat that. So those are the things that I'd like you to think about. Um, yes, that's true, Terrell. Start asking God for revelations and focus areas. Thank you, Anna. That is awesome. Yes. Where is it that you want to look? Where do you need change in your life? Where is change going to be the most beneficial? And sometimes it may not be what we think it is. For instance, earlier we were talking about making more time for our families. Maybe that's an aspiration that you might want to have, and creatively think of ways that you can do that. In fact, if you want to get more exercise, do it with your kids. Go, go, walk with your kids, or work out with your kids at home. If you're in your own home, then set aside an area in your home where you and the kids can work out together. Kids love to work out. I think they're crazy, but they love to work out. They do. They love to exercise. They love to do things. In terms of cooking, involve your children in learning to cook healthy meals. Those kale chips. They might not want to eat green kale on a plate, but if you give them a green kale chip that they could taste a little and, oh, it's not bad, then they might start to do that instead of buying chips. And that's going to save you a ton of money because you're not giving Frito-Lay them that money for those chips that are really not healthy for you anyway. So think about that. Little things like I had some apples going bad the other day, and I made applesauce. I just kind of figured it out.
Okay.
And so, I love Mott's, but they didn't get my money that week. And I didn't have to throw out apples because they were starting to go bad. So
Okay.
So
Okay.
those are some of the things that you can maybe do with your families to help build that life harmony. Where yes,
Wow.
I've had to work a lot of hours this week, but guys, we're gonna make our own pita chips. Okay. Some kids don't have a taste for hummus, but if they do, making hummus is like 10 minutes in a NutriBullet. It's not a big deal. So those are some of the kinds of things that you can do as well. So it's a matter of looking at your whole life and seeing where the holes are. And how can I plug up those holes while integrating everything else in my life? Okay. Now,
I
go ahead. I'm sorry.
love that.
The other thing that I would suggest you do is um, I want to get back before I suggest anything, though. Um, you said Pastor Terrell Davis Coulter. Is that one of your pastors you said?
Oh, that's actually my cousin. She's co-pastor. Uh-huh.
Okay, so pastor, I will give you your due because you're a pastor, and that's not easy. Uh, One of the things that you do need to do is to pray, because sometimes the things that you want to do, and some of you, John Maxwell did a presentation a couple of weeks ago, and one of the things that he spoke about is that very often when you are pursuing a dream, and I would also say a goal, it's what somebody else wanted. It's not what you wanted. Make
Mm.
very sure that what you want to do is what you want, not what you see someone else doing that you'd like to do, not what somebody tells you that you should be doing and you're doing it because they say you should be. But you really, when you're going to set a goal, I would suggest that you pray about it and say, is this the goal for me? It was very interesting when I chose to leave my corporate position 27 years ago, I think it was. I left in 96. Uh, I left actually because the Lord had asked me a question. Just said to me one day, "What would you do if you didn't have this job anymore?" And I started to think about it. I was at a great job, but for years I was the only woman in the room. I was the only woman of color in the room. And I always saw it as the only one who was different in the room. I now see that I was unique and not different, but back then that's not what I saw. And I went totally from being with all these men and working in engineering type positions, and I'm not an engineer, but I have an engineering bent to my mind. Uh, and I went all girl. And I started selling, for those of you who are from down south and who are a little older, I started selling beauty control. They're no longer in existence, but some of you have seen the movie. I had no idea how terrible the beauty control people were. All I wanted was the color drapes because I was also becoming a personal image consultant, and I was working with people on their colors. And I took image consultant training. I got certified as an image consultant. I sold makeup. I did makeup professionally. As you can see, I don't have a stitch on now, but when I put it on, I know what I'm doing. And I I loved it. My mother was freaking out because she felt like, you're giving up a good job, you're giving up a good pension, you need to really think about this, you're not married anymore. She was going slightly nuts, which is, it's a mama thing. That's what mamas do. My father, however, said to me, he said, girl, with your big brain, what did he say? With your big brain won't get you, your big brown eyes will. Just keep batting those eyes. But I went ahead and I did that. And I must tell you, it was not, talk about uphill. Honey, I was scratching uphill. It wasn't even a climb. I was just like, you could see my fingernails in the mountain. And and every job that I got was actually half the salary of the job before. Yeah. And thank God for a mother who loved me, even though I didn't follow her advice, because she helped me tremendously financially. But at the end, when it was all over, and in fact, it was so unfortunate, I was really upset. I started to teach at the school after she passed away. So she never got to see it from this side of heaven. But one of the things that I realized is that when I when I was teaching, when she was alive, and when I started the business, and whenever I would go out to speak, I would take her with me. And one day she looked at me and she said, "You were born to do this." So that was good because at least I got her blessing. And I always had my father's blessing. He always felt I could do anything, but my mother was really scared for me. And literally, the day that she got sick and had to go into the hospital, I got a call on the phone offering me a position to teach, and I couldn't take it because I had no idea what was happening with her. It turns out that she died a month later, and they re-offered the job to me 3 months after she passed away, and I started to teach. And I was absolutely in heaven. In heaven. When I teach, I feel really the presence of the Lord, and it doesn't matter what I'm teaching. I just love to teach, and I've always loved to teach. I would just never teach K through 12 because then I'd have to teach in prison after I hurt somebody. So I it's older, it's college students, it's older people. But I'm saying all this to say also, for those of you who are a little older, like maybe over 35, maybe over 45. I was well, how old am I now? Um 20 years ago. I was 50 when I started to teach, okay? Um but very transferable skills. I had always been into teaching. I could teach. I had always been into customer service and making sure that people were satisfied, and I simply took those skills along with me to every position that I had. And you can do the same thing. Take a look at your skills.
Yes.
What is
And
it that you're good at? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
okay, one of the things I love that you just said was you took everything along with you. You didn't start over. You took everything with you and you put that to work for you in your new positions as you
Right.
transition. So
Right.
that's awesome. So that person that's listening tonight that is in the midst of transition, they're 35, they're 45, and they are starting over. Prime example here in our hometown. there is a big um, um, plant here. We're a big plant base.
Mhm.
They're saying that they're closing their doors by the end of the year. They've been here, I think, like, is it close to 50 years? 40, 50 years?
Oh.
And
Mhm.
so they see at least 250 people losing jobs because they hired at least that many people, and that was like considered a big job, all our lives. And so those people now are going to be like, what am I going to do? But those people can also hear this word from you tonight saying, hey, take those skills that you've learned and you transition them into a new skill. You've done something that you can, transfer somewhere.
Exactly, and you'll pick up new skills along the way. I had a actually right before the pandemic started. In fact, it was about this time in 2020.
Mhm,
I had 2 of my former students, I had a conversation with them, and they told me I needed to start a YouTube channel.
mhm,
And I was like, "Oh, please. I am old. I don't need to learn that technology. No, 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 no." And one of the students said, "Professor, just do me a favor. Just put this app on your phone." And so just to shut him up, I put the app on my phone. Literally, literally 65 days later, the chancellor shut down the whole system and kids were freaking out about online learning. But I had this podcast app on my phone, Anchor dot, I think it's FM Anchor,
uh, uh-huh,
and I did a podcast for 6 weeks, just every week, 5-minute segments, 2 5-minute segments, because young people are not going to listen to more than 5 minutes, and just to get them through the semester so that they had someone encouraging them, someone telling them they could do it. And yeah, and I could teach, I could
mhm,
speak. It was
mhm,
just a matter of taking those skills and taking them out of the classroom in front of the students and putting them in front of the mic.
mhm,
So that's something that you can think about. What skills do you have now that you can put in a different place? And life is forcing you to do that. So now, if life is there used to be this sign, I used to have it on my desk many, many, many years ago, and it says, "When life gives you lemons, make lemonade." What kind of lemonade can you make? What is it that you're good at? Are you good at organizing? Are you good at details? Are you a person who is like me and you just love to meet new people and you're talking to new people all the time? What is it that you're good at? Are you a gardener? Do you garden in your home? Well, maybe you should be planting gardens and doing gardening for people who are not losing their jobs so that they can have beautiful lawns and things that are beautiful to look at. Do you sew? Maybe you can sew for people, make repairs. I have to tell you, I've been sewing since I was 12 years old. I love to sew. I will not make clothes for other people other than me, but or someone in my family that needs it. Yeah, just because people clothes are so cheap now, people don't want to pay what it's worth. However, you can take up a hem, you can alter clothes, you can let things out, you can take things in, you can shorten a pair of slacks. So there are a lot of things that you can do to pick up that money.
mhm. That's so true. That's so true. So
Right.
tell the audience how they can follow you, what you got coming up. Yeah, actually at the top of the hour, which is like what already?
Okay. Oh my gosh. That's what happens when you give me a mic and you let me talk. We can go on forever. Um, you can follow me at DLM Strategies Ltd, all one big word. This just push this all together. www.dlmstrategies without the comma ltd.com. That is my website. I also have a YouTube channel, and the name of that YouTube channel is Leadership Lady Live, all one big word. Leadership Lady Live, youtube.com/leadership Leadership Lady Live. I've got many, many videos there. I will be doing a mastermind group on putting your dream to the test. I started to say developing the leader within you, but no, not that. I will be doing that. And in February, I will be starting a group that's going to be an ongoing group. And there'll be a fee for both the mastermind and this ongoing group. And this ongoing group is called the Ladies Leadership Loop, just because I like acronyms and alliteration and all of that. But this is for women. Now, you don't have to be a supervisor on your job. You can be a team leader. You can be a mom with children. You are still leading. You can be the senior person in your group. Believe it or not, even if though you're not the supervisor, people are looking at you. So you can email me if you're interested in the ladies leadership loop. I'm sorry, it's getting my tongue all looped up. In the ladies leadership loop, and I'm at dlmstrategies dot 2021 at gmail.com. Again, that's dlmstrategies at gmail.com. I'm sorry, dlmstrategies.2021 at gmail.com.
Okay. All right. Just type it in
Okay.
there. All
And we'll
righty.
be talking, what we're going to be doing in that ladies leadership loop is that we're going to be covering one topic every month, and we're going to have 2 Zoom calls. I'll be sending you information about the topics that we are going to discuss. And then I also do something for those of you who are in churches. And if you would email me, there is a curriculum that I'm able to do called Beyond Success. And that is actually through the Maxwell Leadership philanthropic arm called Equip. And we do that. We look at different values and we have people discuss those values. Each session has a John Maxwell video. And in one of the videos, he always talks about his most important relationship. John is a person of faith. He started out as a pastor many, many years ago, and he became a leader as he grew his church and started to teach other pastors leadership. And that's how he ended up in the leadership space. And so I'm also able to do Beyond Success. If you would like to talk to me a little bit about how that works, I'll be happy to talk with you. I know a lot of churches find that as a good thing.
All
Yes,
right.
that's my website, www.dlmstrategieslimited.com. Thank you, ma'am.
So, so
Okay.
that's her website. If you want to follow her, find out more about her, she is dlmstrategies.com. You can also find her on YouTube as Leadership Lady Live. And
All
so
one
y'all can
word.
follow her. We'll go subscribe on YouTube. And while y'all out there subscribing for her on YouTube, if you have not subscribed to mine already, go over because a lot of you all I see her on Facebook. I see a couple of people in other areas. But go over to Aaliyah the Purpose Midwife and y'all go ahead and subscribe. And what I want y'all to do is what she has said, whatever she's given us a wealth of nuggets. What did she say that spoke to your heart? What did she say that spoke to your spirit? What did she say that you said, man, she's talking to me? What was that nugget?
Yes.
So I want you to go over to the YouTube, subscribe, hit like, and in that comment, tell us what was that nugget. Okay. And
Yes.
so we appreciate you tonight. You've been a total blessing. You
Thank
have
you.
awakened some of the people that came into 2023 like halfway asleep, halfway worn. You kind of gave a breath of fresh air. You know, that's like I can breathe again.
Yes, yes. And I'll tell you one thing, talking about at aspirations. Leadership Lady Live, I took that name in 2011 when the John Maxwell team first started. I could not afford to join, but I knew, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I'm going to cry. I knew that one day I would join. And so when I had the opportunity to take a name, because back then they'd let you take a moniker. And when I had the opportunity to do that, I said, I'm going to choose Leadership Lady Live because I know that I am on this earth to teach people to lead. And so from 2011 up until up until 2021, I had Leadership Lady Live and I did nothing with it. Okay. And one of my mentors from the John Maxwell team challenged a group of us to record something every day for 30 days. And I found out I liked being in front of the camera. And that was my first recording was the end of June 2021. And I've been recording ever since. I've had, I've recorded probably about 350 videos. I take them up, I put them back, depending on what I'm teaching. So, yes. So aspire, take that step because you don't know where it's going to lead. I knew that I wanted to do this eventually. I just didn't have the money. And the Lord opened the door for me to have the money at one point, and I joined. So you never know. You never know. Take that step, keep aspiring, keep climbing up that hill. There's an old song, climbing up the rough side of the mountain. That's how I felt a lot. But I got up the rough side of the mountain.
Well, thank you so much again. Tell them the website again. I mean, which I'll put it on the page.
Right. It's DLMstrategies.ltd.com. And then
Mhm.
my YouTube channel is Leadership Lady Live, all one word switched together on YouTube. You can also connect with me on Facebook at Denise L. Miller and
Okay.
on LinkedIn as Denise L. Miller.
All right. Well, thank you again. We appreciate you tonight. We thank you, thank you, thank you. And let us know upcoming things. We're looking forward to those awesome, awesome events. All right.
Okay, Aaliyah, thank you so much for inviting me. This has been wonderful.
So, look, answer prayer and a blessing to us both. Amen.
Amen.
And thanks again.
Okay.
All right, y'all. So if y'all missed any of that, guy, y'all want to go back and and to listen to the replay. Listen to it over on YouTube so y'all can go do your assignment. Your assignment again is to go to Aaliyah, the Purpose Midwife, and I need you to subscribe, like, and comment on what spoke to you. Get your notepad out, get your pen ready because there were so many things that she's going to give you that she gave us on setting those life goals and whole life goals and questions that you are to ask yourself. So I'll see y'all same time, same place next week at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am Aaliyah, your purpose midwife. We'll talk to y'all soon. Have a blessed, blessed week.